thank you for your partnership and collaboration on such an urgent issue as clemency, which has been a top priority for me since I was sworn into office. 3 weeks ago, after months of urging from myself and our fellow colleagues, President Biden granted clemency to 78 people, including 75 commutations and 3 pardons. I was absolutely proud to see two of those people were residents of St. Louis. In exercising this extraordinary executive authority, the president cited redemption and rehabilitation as core values of our nation. I couldn't agree more, and I commend him for taking this necessary step. During the previous administration, the president largely used his clemency power for cronies, for family members, political allies, and friends. Rather than a tool of redemption and decarceration, he wielded this authority for nepotism and corruption. Clemency became an extension of the privilege afforded to the rich and the powerful. In the context of our punitive carceral system, clemency provides President Biden with the authority to put humanity over greed, justice over violence, and righteousness over corruption. Ms. James, in your testimony that 65,600 mothers are in federal prison unable to raise their children, leaving 1.7 million children behind, and that every 10th mother will never see their children again, even after they are released from prison, how would mass commutations and clemencies impact Black and brown communities, particularly women?
Thank you. And thank you for your support for our efforts around clemency for women in the federal system, Congresswoman. Clemency allows the president to strengthen communities with a stroke of a pen. We have thousands of women currently incarcerated who have lots of years inside already, where their children were infants and now maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. That is typical throughout the federal system. We have women like Danielle Metz, who is here with me, Congresswoman, who you have met and personally had conversations with. Danny's story is unfortunately not an anomaly. It is so common in the federal system. And Danny is here with us today, thank goodness, after 23 years in a federal prison where her children grew up without her. And the Adoption Safe Families Act, which we have to desperately work on, is something that destroys families because it requires that the state remove custody of parents. And it did not take into consideration the fact that many of these people were going to be incarcerated women. 85% of currently incarcerated women are mothers, and they were the primary caretakers of their children prior to their incarceration. We must do something to recognize the further harm and trauma that happens when you separate mothers from children and that you remove these women from our communities. And clemency is gender justice. Yes. It is an opportunity for us to correct some of the things that all of the people on this panel, including conspiracy, and other things that have led to significant convictions in unreasonable amounts of time that are affecting the women in the federal system. Women just like Danielle Metz, just like Virginia Douglas, just like Kemba Smith, women just like Amy Pova, women just like Michelle West, going on her 29th year of incarceration, never an infraction during incarceration, whose daughter Mikkel has come before this committee and the White House countless times to beg for a second chance for her mother. And so this does mean something to us. Clemency would provide a huge tool to help us to move these women and help to reunite and heal families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Taifa, you talk powerfully about Marcus Garvey's conviction being unjust, but outright wrong. Why is it so important to exonerate Garvey and other leaders of racial justice who have been victims of prosecution?
Thank you, Congresswoman. It is so very important because there have been so many instances of injustice in this country, not just what's happening now, but what has happened historically. And Marcus Garvey served to unite Black people, not only in this country, but across the world as well. And he was targeted by this government. He was targeted by the predecessor to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Bureau of Investigation under a young J. Edgar Hoover. And the trial was amidst of issues dealing with race and dealing with politics. And even the president at that time, Calvin Coolidge, agreed and as a result commuted that sentence. But that commutation did not remove the stigma of his name. And his living son, Dr. Julius Garvey, has been seeking to restore the honor of his father. His image, Marcus Garvey's image, is on the currency of the nation of Jamaica. All over the world, people have been honoring him. Dr. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, others, many leaders around the world have learned from his teachings. Thank you.